Hello everyone, this week's Parsha is Parsha Ki Savo. I'm basing this the shiur on what I heard from Rav Bernstein online, his 2017 shiur, and he shares many ideas. I'll be sharing two of them with you. One of them is a bit of a shorter idea, one's longer, but they're both great. And I'll of course attach the link below for Rav Bernstein's shiur. Now he focuses on the tochacha in Parsha Ki Savo, the curses that will befall the Jewish people if we don't do what we're supposed to be doing. And he notes that first there are two parshas of tochacha. One of them, of course, is ours, and then another one is Parshat Bechukotai at the end of Sefer Vayikra. And there are a number of differences between them, and we obviously can't go through all of them, but one of them, and perhaps foremost among them, is the fact that the one in Bechukotai is written Belashon Rabim, it's written in the plural, whereas the one here is written Belashon Yachid, it's written in the singular. Now what do I mean? If we're to go back to Sefer Vayikra, and by all means please follow along, so go back to Sefer Vayikra, that's Leviticus, chapter 26, verse 14. V'im lo tishme'u li, v'lo ta'asu et kol mitzvot ha'ele, right, plural. V'im bechukotai tim'asu, again, plural. That's how it's written. As opposed to our week's parsha, which says as follows, in chapter 28, verse 15, that's in Dvarim, V'aya im lo tishma, v'kol Hashem elokecha, asher anochi metzavcha, and then it says, Arur ata ba'ir, Varur ata basadeh, Lashon Yachid. Right? So we see Bechukotai is Lashon Rabim, and here is Lashon Yachid. Now, there are many interpretations as to what exactly this means, but the Kli Yakar has what to say, and he's basing himself on the Gemara. He says as follows. What's changed? Because there's now been a paradigm shift, because in Parsha Ki Savo, the Jewish people are about to enter Eretz Yisrael. And with that, there's an idea that Kol Yisrael arevim zelazeh. The entire Jewish people are responsible one for the other. And as a result, the definition of success has now changed. Back in Parshat Bechukotai, which is written Belashon Rabim, the way you achieve success is through our own personal achievements. If we have succeeded individually, then you've succeeded and you're good. Now, because we're in Parshat Ki Savo and we're about to enter Eretz Yisrael, and there's this concept of responsibility for one another, success, the definition of success has changed. It's not only measured by what we do individually, but also whether or not our brothers and sisters are also succeeding. Right? Now, we now become responsible for their success or their failures. So that if there are people who are, of course, within our ambit of influence, there are people who we don't know, who extends beyond our financial means, then obviously you can't be responsible for that. But people within your ambit of influence and within your financial means, then you do have to take responsibility for them. And therefore, if they don't succeed, then you haven't succeeded, right? If they don't succeed, then we haven't succeeded as a people. And that actually gives us a reason why we see another difference between the Parsha of Tochacha and Bechukotai as opposed to right here. Because in Bechukotai we have 49 curses, right, the 7 sevens, whereas here in Parsha Ki Savo it goes much longer. There are 98 curses, which is exactly double what we had in Bechukotai. The question is why? So it says the Kli Yakar, because back in the Bechukotai, if we failed, then we failed individually. And that's that. Whereas here in Ki Savo, if we failed not only individually, for which we have to bear responsibility for, but also our brothers and sisters have failed, for which we also must bear responsibility for. And that's what leads to the double curse. And that's why in Bechukotai it's written Belashon Rabim. Because Belashon Rabim means there are many individuals. You're all individuals, and therefore we have to write in a plural sense. But here it's written Belashon Yachid, it's written as one, because the Jewish people are one. And therefore, that's almost the textual reference to this, or the textual proof or evidence for this concept. Beautiful. Now, moving on. Rav Bernstein spends a lot of time on one pasuk that he points out as very strange. And it's strange for this reason. We are in the midst of the Tochacha, right? We have these horrific curses being detailed, what will happen to the Jewish people. And then, in the middle of it, we get this pasuk in verse 47. It's chapter 28, verse 47. For you haven't served Hashem with joy, with good heart, and with an abundance of everything. Now, we read this, and you can't help but be puzzled. Why? Because you see this pasuk, and it seems to be saying, look, you're serving God, but it wasn't with joy, and therefore, that's the reason for why you're suffering these horrible punishments. But the punishment doesn't seem to fit the crime. Why not? because at the end of the day, we're still serving God. We're doing the mitzvahs. And yet, even though we're doing the mitzvahs, we're still being punished this badly. At the end of the day, I don't think there's any mitzvah to be besimcha. There's no mitzvah to be happy. So ultimately, you're doing all the mitzvahs. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're not doing anything you're not supposed to be doing. Just the things you're doing, you're not doing them in as ideal a way as you're supposed to be doing them. Okay, but that's a hinder mitzvah. That's a beautification of the mitzvah. That's not the mitzvah itself. How can the Jewish people be punished so harshly for, at the end of the day, just doing what they're supposed to be doing, but not as well as they're supposed to be doing it? It just seems a little disproportional. How does the punishment fit the crime? That's our question. Now, by way of answering, we need to ask a question. The way we read that pasuk, is that the only way of reading the pasuk? That is to say, is that the way we must read that pasuk? Not necessarily. The Meshech Chochmah gives us a different way of reading it. He reads it like this. That's it. Because we haven't served God. That's a different problem. We haven't served God. Well then, in that case, we look at the latter part of the pasuk. Besimcha u'tuv levav mirov kol. What's that doing? So originally we thought that besimcha u'tuv levav mirov kol is it's explaining how we didn't serve God. That is to say, we're serving God, we're just not doing it besimcha. But the way the Meshech Chochmah is explaining the pasuk is he's saying we're not serving God. How did we come to this stage? Because of besimcha u'tuv levav mirov kol. Now, what exactly does that mean? It seems like the reason when the Jewish people are happy, we don't serve God. But why is that? Why don't we serve God when if we're happy? So, and to that we need to understand. We need to understand these surrounding concepts. That is to say, how do these two terms go together? There's the simcha and mirov kol. Simcha and tuv levav is an emotional state, whereas mirov kol is just a question of how much you have, and that is the question. What the pasuk here is addressing is what makes a person happy. That's one. And moreover, when do you have everything? That's two. And then three, what is the connection between those two things? What is the connection between being happy and having everything? Because we need to figure out which leads to which. Does being happy give you everything? Or does having everything make you happy? That is the question. Now, the wrong turn that is taken by the Jewish people as described in this pasuk is that they have come to believe that they will only be happy if they have everything. Now, when do you have everything? And the answer to that is never. You'll never have everything. Or at the least, right now you don't have it. Not yet. I don't have everything yet. Well, okay, so what's your response? What do you need to do? Well, I need to keep going in my attainment of everything, because then I'll be happy. So right now I'm busy in working, because I need to keep working so that I'll have everything so that I'll be happy. Well, hang on. What about your avodas Hashem? And the answer to that is, I can't do that, because I don't have any time, because I'm trying to be happy, and in order to be happy, I need to get everything. So I don't have any time, so thank you very much, and in the meantime, this is what I look like. So we see this besimcha u'tuv levav mirov kol. That's the wrong perspective. We went from thinking that once you're happy you have everything, to thinking that in order to achieve happiness you need to have everything, and therefore in that confusion that stops us from having any good venture, and certainly from developing our avodas Hashem. Now we need to figure out, where's the mistake? The mistake is thinking that you'll be happy if you have everything. And the tragedy is that's such a basic error, because really it's a tried and true method that people who are happy are those who are happy with what they have. It's a tried and tested theory, whereas people who are not happy with what they have are never happy, because they'll never have something that their neighbor has already, and therefore in their achievement, in their attempt to have everything, they'll always be miserable and they will not be happy. And so we see that the relationship between being happy and having things has been catastrophically reversed here. If a person's perspective was, Rav Kol comes from a simcha u'tuv levav, then you've got it. Your time has been freed up. Because you see, because I'm a simcha, I have everything. And now we can move on to more meaningful pursuits. But instead, the Jewish people has flipped it. That's such a profound insight, because now we see that the criticism of the Jewish people is not that they are doing mitzvahs but without joy. Is that the Jewish people are not doing mitzvahs because they are in pursuit of joy. That is the lesson of that pasuk that comes right in the middle of the Tochacha. And from that, I will leave you. Shabbat Shalom, and I'll see you next week.